The Oilers were off Wednesday. They practiced yesterday. They get Seattle tomorrow on the road, and then they're going to be home for 5, which is pretty important, I think, for them to take advantage of that home streak. There's been a lot of, when a team only plays one game over like a 5-day stretch, lots of rumors start to pop up and things start to pop up. We saw them get linked to Binnington maybe earlier in the week. We saw Kevin Weeks with the report about Tristan Jarry as well. My question for you, CJ, would be, would any of this stuff even be remotely, I'm not going to say happening, but even something worth discussing for us at this point? Or are we just wasting our breath?
No, I think it's worth discussing. I mean, I got no reason to believe there's an imminent trade coming on that front, but certainly the Oilers, I mean, look, they have to at least see what's out there and see what makes sense at that position. I think the struggles of the team go deeper than the goaltending, but the goaltending's played a role in it. And you take a few one-sided losses, especially on home ice the way they have.
Yeah.
You look at the team save percentage and you're 32nd in the league looking up at everybody else. I understand that Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard took them to 2 straight cup finals. But at a certain point, I think it would be negligent to at least not be looking it out. And so I do know for sure the Oilers have some interest in Tristan Jarry. Don't know what the trade looks like. I think that's a complication. Obviously, the cap is a consideration too. One of the benefits of the Pickard Skinner duo is that they're among the lowest paid in the league in terms of their cap hit. So that's beneficial because it allows Edmonton to spend elsewhere. But, at this point in time, I do think it's got to where, the management has to at least figure out what the other options are if this doesn't turn around and stabilize soon.
The numbers are shocking when it comes to the goaltending. The fans want it, people clamoring for some sort of shakeup. But we did talk, too, that you're dealing from a point right now and, teams, somebody threw in a Mac T quote here, not throwing a life preserver but an anchor. You do have to do your job and your due diligence in exploring it, but is now kind of the time to do it? Or do you want to see maybe this organization and this team stabilize just a bit before you do try to make some sort of a move in that area?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, you're not dealing in a moment when everybody can see all your sort of flaws and warts exposed, when you have a little more strength. But, I think that there's a balancing act to be had there. And really, I can't remember the exact day, but I think the trade freeze kicks in somewhere around December 17th. So effectively, the Oilers have 2.5 weeks to consider a move like this, until Christmas time. And then after that, you're looking at the new year. And there's a lot of games to be played then. And obviously, they don't want to dig a further hole in the standings. So I think that there's definitely a balance to be walked there. The one thing I'll say is that I didn't mention is the Binnington one is, I understand why his name's out there, with where the Blues are at and the fact is 1 year left on his deal. But I have a hard time believing the Oilers and Blues could make that kind of trade so recently after the, part of what's put Edmonton in this predicament is those series of offer sheets that dealt a blow to some of their young depth. So, I have a hard time seeing that one come through. I understand why you might have interest in the player if you're looking to upgrade the position, but I think they're going to have to probably look somewhere else. Jarry comes with some question marks too. He was in the American Hockey League not so long ago, passed through waivers last season. So, there's the problem with goalies, quite frankly, is they just have such a variance in performance. Other than the absolute top guys in the league, there's a lot of ups and downs generally when you look at the performances, and the Oilers need to try to be as sure as they can that if they make a move that they're getting an actual upgrade.
Man, we were really hoping you'd put the spin on it like a bunch of our listeners in the 6 o'clock hour where Binnington's a peace offering from the Blues to be like, sorry, we took your guy.
It's a theory. It's an out there theory.
So I guess that might not be the case. Pittsburgh's interesting with Jarry because, they've got a couple of other goaltenders there. And they're a team that's been playing well so far this year. It's not like, a bottom of the barrel Nashville and, oh my God, what are they going to do? I mean, if Pittsburgh, let's just say Pittsburgh did want to put Jarry in the mix for a possible deal to the Edmonton Oilers, I mean, would they be looking for warm bodies back that can help this team this year? Is that the unique position that Pittsburgh might be in?
Yeah, they've been in kind of a mode where they are trying to get younger players into their lineup or in these sorts of deals. And that's why I'm not sure where the fit exactly is in Edmonton, because obviously, the players the Oilers have that might fit that criteria, I think or they have a lot of value to the Oilers now, right? Yeah. Like you don't want to be trading away the couple young up and coming players you've got in the organization. So, that's the way Pittsburgh's operated. They've actually valued trying to get prospects back in their, let's say, the last year, 18 months in trades, even more than draft picks. I mean, they'll take draft picks, but I think they're trying to speed up their own kind of retool on the fly by having players that are a little closer to helping the current team. So, they're in a position of strength here. They've got 4 goalies right now in the organization that have played NHL games in the last 2 years. 3 of them, I believe, are 24 and under, with Silovs, Murashov, and Joel Blomqvist. So, they like where they're at in a position. They don't have to make a move. That's the other part of this. I mean, Tristan Jarry's he's found money for them, right? I mean, it looked like he was completely on the outs with the organization, but he's had a really strong bounce back this year. He's been a huge part of their success. So it's not as though they're not shopping this guy by any means. I just think they're open to making those kind of moves if they can see some growth for the organization, because they're still operating with the big picture in mind. So that's when you're asking, like, is the timing right? It might not be right because one team may be a little more desperate. The other is able to just sit back and say, hey, make us an offer, but it better be a good one if you think we're going to do something. And so that might kind of delay any action between these two teams.
NHL insider Chris Johnston joining us for GS Construction on the Firehouse Subs hotline. There's been a lot of discussion about, Vancouver is going to be listening to some stuff, and what's Nashville going to do? They might tear some things down, and I'm not sure where Calgary fits into this whole picture. But which team do you think will be the first one to sort of unload a guy or two, if you had to handicap that right now?
I've got to take Vancouver just because Jim Rutherford's track record is one where he doesn't wait till the deadline. When he makes up his mind it's time to do something, he typically does it. Now, often in the past, Jim's managed some pretty good teams. He's been the one out buying players, in December or January rather than waiting till February or March, closer to the trade deadline. But I think the fact that they've indicated to the league that they, want to hear basically how teams value their guys to see if there's anything that might make sense. They will not hesitate to make a move if they see something that fits kind of where they're at. So, I think they're the most likely. Nashville doesn't seem to, as much as we all know where it's headed there this season, they don't seem to quite have their mind around that just yet. I mean, they do want to get younger too, and that's something they've started as a process. But, some of the guys that would be most obvious trade candidates, not easy players to move, Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, a lot of salary there and not a recent track record of strong performance. But I think the Preds will get there. I also think the Flames will get there, but as we saw with that round of interviews Don Maloney did last week, their team president, they don't seem to be in any rush to sort of weaken the current roster and start a rebuild, that they want to put that off. So, I think it goes Vancouver, Nashville, and Calgary in that order for most likely to start making some moves.
Chris, the title of our show today is What Are the Oilers? American Thanksgiving in the rearview mirror, Black Friday. We move on. It's always been talked about that soft spot kind of on the schedule here of checking in, seeing where the team is at. We've seen the percentiles of teams residing in a playoff position at this point and pretty good to usually stay there. So are the Oilers kind of closer to what they will be to finish this season? I mean, 10-5 right now, 500 points percentage right on the nose. But how much more do you see from them in this group? Obviously, we're talking trades, and lots of things can happen from now until the end of the season. But what would you say the Oilers are fairly right now?
I mean, they're a below average team right now, if we're being honest. I mean, you look at those 25 games and, I don't think they can say truthfully that they played too well in any of them.
And we've talked both those spankings at home to the Colorados and the Dallases of the West, right? And a measuring stick there as well.
Yeah, and pretty close together, right? I think we understand it's a hard league, and it does happen. Like, good teams do get their butt kicked every once in a while, but it can't become a regular thing. And having it happen on home ice and against opponents that clearly you would be up for those games. I mean, if you're the Oilers, you know what you're getting when Colorado and Dallas come into your building. It's not going to be an easy night. It's tough to sort of get your mind around that. I think the Oilers, quite honestly, are missing a little bit of the edge they had with some of the offseason moves they made. I understand it was time to move on from Evander Kane, but someone like that, I do think, when he was at his best in recent years, helped a little bit. They feel like a team that's still looking for their identity to some degree. I believe, like, I'm not ready to write them off. I just think We've seen enough from them in the last few years that they've had ridiculously strong second halves of the season, and had the nice playoff runs that follow. So I'm willing to give them a little more runway here before I'm saying you got to tear it down and start again. Like I don't think that's where this season's headed in Edmonton, but it is getting to gut check time. You can only lean on we've played a lot of hockey lately, which is true, excuse or new guys or injuries. Like every team has those things. Like that, it's certainly a factor in where Edmonton is today. But I feel like they have to get moving here, or it could be a year that no one saw coming. And you get to December, I just think that there's a different level of urgency around the league, and with the standings being so compressed this year, like it's actually crazy. I look back at all the that Thanksgiving stat you're referencing. I look back at all the years back to 2014-15. We've never had a year at Thanksgiving we had this many teams clustered within 4 points, basically of the playoff line. So I think it's still right there for Edmonton if they get hot, but at some point they have to play good hockey and get hot.
CJ, before we let you go, you may notice that Eric over here is sitting in a winter jacket and a toque and winter gloves.
I kind of wondered about that.
Yeah, I'm glad. We're going to bring it up because our producer, YouTube Travis, is doing the same thing, and it's kind of like this protest that they don't like where the thermostat is set in the office. Okay, so this morning it's at 20.5. These guys are acting like it's an ice box in here, like it's at 16. What is the optimal?
You're in a t-shirt, Dusty.
Yeah, well, man, it's beautiful in here. Like it's not cold. I don't know. So what's your thermostat set at right now?
It's -10 outside as well.
It doesn't matter what it is outside. It's 20.5 inside.
30 outside, it wouldn't matter.
What's your thermostat usually set at?
Mine does not get above 20 very often. I mean, I like a little coolness in the house. If anything, I'll just put on an extra shirt or a blanket if I'm on the couch, but
this has been a debate around the office for 2 days, man. It's just, I think 20.5 is very
shovel
reasonable.
the driveway right now or something. Yeah, what's going on there?
He's been sitting in this for almost an hour and a half. You got to be sweating your balls off, man. Like
I'm room temperature.
You're not room temperature. My goodness. All right, CJ, we appreciate. Congrats on the Cowboys win, man. Best of luck the rest of the year there, and we'll chat with you next Friday.
All right, have a good weekend.
There you go. See what he said? 20 degrees.
The HVAC manager said 22.
I'm going to text Dennis now because
nothing against CJ, but I mean he's out Ontario way. It's different there, right?
It's cold out there.
It's a wet cold, isn't it?
No, I think it's a dry cold. Are we a dry cold or
no idea. I just
what type of cold's which?